Today is September 15th, and I didn't know if I was going to make a video clip today because I wasn't really in the mood to do it, and decided not to go by how I felt because this is very important. So I have with me, there are many things that I'd like to get into as to what happened after I met after I left or decided to commute from Washington State. And I will get into that later, and I thought too, going into some of the FBI records that were finally released to me, in some ways it's a little bit premature because I haven't told you everything that's happened during this time that the FBI was withholding this information from me. So in some ways it would almost be better to hear about what they've done, just from the small amount that I have, after hearing the rest of what happened. But honestly, I think that since I did tell you how what happened with the FBI agents and what I had reported, since that might be fresh in your memory, I'm going to go ahead and get into how they wrote up that report. So this is the I actually have this camera set quite a distance away from me, and it's still really close up to my face, so I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the package or stack of information that I have. There's the seal, from the FBI. It's about this. This is as much as they gave me. So what's that? 1 inch. They have boxes. They have CD after CD, and they have boxes and boxes and boxes of records about me. But I got this. I'm not sure how much Kate Middleton got, but I'm sure that it was more than what I received. So they released to me some documents, just this much, in March 26th of 2012. That's what is on this front page letter, the date. I first requested FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. I made Freedom of Information Act requests in 2004. Actually, I did give it a little bit of time to see what happened with the investigation, and then when I started to be harassed and called a drug user and had police coming at me and I was being thrown in jail, all kinds of horrible, crazy things happening, I asked for freedom, and I made several written requests for my release of records to me in 2005. So 2005 was 7 years ago. In that time, I've been horribly tortured. The FBI's defeated me. They tortured my son. They tortured other family members. They lied about me, and they encouraged people to drug me, medicate me. I believe some of their own employees have assaulted me and been part of chasing me down and committing some of these crimes. And I was prevented from getting political asylum in Canada when I left this country with my son. So, when I started making requests for my information, it was extremely important that I received that information in a timely manner. They lied, they made fun of me, they ignored me. First they ignored me. Then they sent me a few responses just mocking me, saying they didn't have anyone with any, there were no such records. Nobody had ever met me from the FBI. They were basically denying that I had ever even known any FBI agents, and then they were sharing that kind of false information with people to make me sound nuts, to even doctors, who were then saying that, I must be hallucinating to think that I'd ever known anybody from the FBI. And it is because of what the FBI has done that I have lost my son. I expect the FBI to do whatever it takes and to withdraw from the FBI salaried accounts of however many agents it takes to pay for the undoing of this false adoption that was made. I expect the proceeds for returning my son to me and for compensating me and my son to be coming from their salaries. And I'm not saying that there are not other individuals that need to be contributing to that fund, but the FBI is a place that can start. So, on this front page, it says that they have the FOIPA number that they used for this is 1177110-000. And my request for information was under the subject of Garrett, Camille Larry, 1982 to present. So I requested any and all information about myself, my name, my person, since 1982. This cover sheet says, the enclosed documents were reviewed under the Freedom of Information Privacy Acts, Title V, United States Code, etc., etc. Well, actually, I'll include the number. 552/552A. Deletions have been made to protect information which is exempt from disclosure, with the appropriate exemptions noted on the page next to the excision. In addition, a deleted page information sheet was inserted in the file to indicate where pages were withheld entirely. The exemptions used to withhold information are marked below and explained on the enclosed Form OPCA-16A. So then, for Section 552, the boxes that are marked for the reasons why they chose to withhold information from me about my own records. The first one that's marked is B6. And that one is the explanation of that exemption is as follows. B6. Personnel and medical files and similar files, the disclosure of which would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Well, I'm not quite sure how this would warrant an invasion of personal privacy when I'm asking for these records about myself. So any kind of medical files and personnel files that have to do with me should have been released to me. There was nothing at all in my report to the FBI that had anything to do with any kind of medical file or situation with either of the agents. So I feel that there's a possibility they're withholding something from me, such as defamatory claims that I have a mental illness, which they probably then shared with Canada and whoever else, police, anybody else that they wanted to defame me to. The other exemption that they used was B7C. That one is records or information compiled for law enforcement purposes, but only to the extent that the production of such law enforcement records or information could be reasonably expected to constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Again, their personal privacy comment. Section 552A, and they marked the box J2. Material reporting investigative efforts pertaining to the enforcement of criminal law, including efforts to prevent, control, or reduce crime or apprehend criminals. And, you know, I'm confused about that, because if this has something to do with apprehending criminals, who's the criminal? Because the only people that I mentioned were these FBI agents, a couple possibly connected parties, and then myself. And I'm asking for records about myself. When the FBI is denying that anybody has committed any wrongdoing or any kind of crime at all, how can they then use Section 7 or J2? The other box that was marked was K2. Investigatory material compiled for law enforcement purposes other than criminal, which did not result in a loss of right, benefit, or privilege under federal programs. Really? Or which would identify a source who furnished information pursuant to a promise that his or her identity would be held in confidence. Well, if anyone provided some sort of negative or defamatory information about me, they don't have a right to keep that private. That privacy right is waived when my rights to safety and protection, equal protection under the law, have been violated, and when it led directly to being tortured in this country. So then, after they marked these boxes, it says 155 pages were reviewed, and 147 pages are being released. And then they marked the box that says, in accordance with standard FBI practice, this response neither confirms nor denies the existence of your subject's name on any watch lists. And then the box, you have the right to appeal any denials in this release. Well, that is sort of funny, because this was sent to me March 26th of 2012, and I was still being tortured at that time. So, you know, that being tortured makes it impossible for someone to appeal things, including the appeal of my son's fraudulent case. I woke up this morning after yesterday having sort of a better day. This morning, I slept most of the night well enough. This morning I woke up because I was being tortured to the left side of my head again, to my teeth. I was basically forced out of bed because of it, and then I was tortured until about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock today. To both my ear on the left side of my head and to my tooth. So I think that torturing me all morning was a way to make me tired